got that on,
Folks, let's Chris, Arthur. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, we got about, hello everybody. Why don't we have to socially distance, so let's try to, as much as we all love each other, let's spread out a little bit. And we've got a few minutes, we actually don't, we have 1 minute, and now the clock is ticking even on that, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's 2:30 and say that we are streaming this via Facebook Live, and hopefully we have a lot of friends and probably friends and family and everybody else that we invited out there watching us today. But we're in the community room at Sheridan Station, at the Sheridan Station Apartments, which we just completed in January. And I'd like to welcome you all here. I'm George Thorne with Mile High Development. And on behalf of myself and Mile High and the Brenshore Development folks, Kathleen Bold from Brenshore is here with us today. Where is Kathleen? There she is. Thanks to them for coming into Denver and this being their first project, and thanks to my good friend Aaron Mirapole for introducing us 4 years ago, and not knowing that a little coffee or something was going to turn into an important partnership, and we really appreciate that, Aaron. So we've had the great privilege over the last 4 years of developing this project, but there's a lot more to the story than that, as Aaron of all people knows, and so does Mayor Hancock. And I just want to say that when we invite the mayor to come out to a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting or any kind of event, if it's affordable housing in particular, but certainly other things as well over the years, he's always showed up. And I can't thank you enough. It means a lot after you've been out here toiling in the mud and the muck and then fighting all the other issues that come up when you're building a building. But when you ask the top guy in the city to come and join you and he shows up, it means a lot. And it means a lot to see people like Britta and Angie and Chris White from Chaffet and all of you. And so hopefully everybody out there one day will get a chance to come through and take a look at the building. We have 133 units. We're about 80% leased today, and we think we're going to be up to 90% in the next week or 10 days and fully leased. Diana, where are you? I just saw you. In about 30 days. So this project would have never happened without one guy in particular, but a couple of people, but particularly Aaron Mirapole of the Urban Land Conservancy stood out here right where we're standing over 10 years ago. 12, 13 years ago, and looked around and said, this is going to be a great place to do affordable housing, and we better start assembling land because RTD is going to build a parking facility and a station. And that was 6 years before RTD ever did that, and here we are today. The garage is open, the station is open, and we have a real neighborhood developing, and it was the vision of Aaron personally, and Deborah Bustos is part of hosting the city as well. When Deborah was with Urban Land Conservancy, I think she was Aaron's first employee. I believe that's right, because I used to come and meet with Urban Land Conservancy. And there she is, just on time. You always miss when I call you out. Deborah Bustos, give her a hand. Anyway, these two people believed in this project. If anybody was doing anything in Denver, like a convention or a visiting group, they got dragged out here by this little strong little lady here saying, you got to see this site. So thank you so much. We've had a lot of other important partners, and you always do, and that's, I think, the wonderful thing about affordable housing is it's so collaborative. But none of them were more important than Chaffet. From the very beginning, when we told Chapel what we were trying to do here, and our original plan was to build 2 buildings, one on this side of Main Street and one on the other, and build a street in the middle of it. It sounds a little bit out there, but we actually had a full-blown plan. We're ready to go, and some forces intercepted that plan, and we were able to consolidate everything into this one 8-story building. But Chaffa stayed with us all the way through that. Chris White, the CEO of Chaffa, is here with us, and again, like the mayor, when we invite him to come and help us celebrate, he always comes and plays a major role. And I'd like to thank Chris and Jamie Gomez and Steve Johnson and Catherine Grosscup and all the Chaffa people, because we have a great organization in Colorado, and that's why our industry, the affordable housing industry, is so strong. So without further ado, let's kick this off and introduce Chris White from the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority.
Thank you, George, for that kind introduction. It's really nice to be here today. I will never cease to be amazed in this job, the sort of before and after that comes with it. You know, a couple of years ago, we're standing over there looking at freezing cold and looking at a snow-covered, muddy area over here, and then the after 133 units of beautiful housing that's affordable to people that really need it. So I will never cease to be amazed and thankful for that part of my job. And today comes with a little bit of nostalgia, and I'm sorry for repeating this. George knows what I'm going to say here, but when I was born, we lived one block on the other side of Sheridan where Zenobia dead ends. The duplexes at the end of Zenobia over there is where we lived when I was born. So I spent my adolescence in this neighborhood a little bit as well. So this comes with a little bit of nostalgia. Again, as I said, I'm really happy to be here. And, you know, I was thinking a little bit about today, and one of the things I try always to do is acknowledge the partners and the partnerships that are involved in getting an affordable housing development built, because it's not easy, it's complicated, there are a lot of players, there's a lot of coordination, there's a lot of collaboration, it's a very inclusive process. But one of the things I realized that I need to do a better job is actually thanking all of those people who make these things possible, because the only reason that the organization I lead exists is to fulfill its mission of affordable housing and economic development. And there's no other reason for Chaffa other than to fulfill our mission. We exist for that without the partnership of so many, including the funders and others. People tend to like to call that the capital stack, but I think that undervalues what really happens in this. So let me just take a minute to thank all of the partners in this, starting with Brinshore. I think when we first started here, I think Brinshore was new or relatively new to the market and had a relationship with Aaron that went back a little ways. And so thank you to Brinshore. And speaking of Aaron and his team, to ULC, the Urban Land Conservancy. The business model you have and the vision you have in your leadership, Aaron, are just extraordinary. And what you're willing to do with your assets in terms of the 99-year ground leases that make these permanently affordable is very, very much appreciated. And then, of course, the city and county of Denver. Mayor, it's always good to see you. And as George says, you're everywhere. You come to these, and it's very much appreciated. And your support for and advocacy of housing affordability really makes a difference. Your leadership really does make a difference. And that goes for Britta and her team and everything you do. Again, we value our partnership with you extraordinarily. So thank you for all that you do. And then, of course, RTD. The relationship on this one, but on many others, and then our friends over at the Division of Housing. We did a little study not too long ago and tried to estimate how many deals DOH is in that we finance. I forgot the number, but it's like 85% or something like that. So thank you to everybody who helps in these things. And last, and I would say most importantly for today's purposes, thank you to George, and for all you do and your commitment to housing affordability as well, and the extraordinary developments you put together. We thank you for everything you do, and congratulations on yet another development. Many more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for those kind words. It's now my pleasure to talk a little bit about a lady that's contributed a lot to this city for a long time in a lot of different roles, and she tried to describe them to Arthur McDermott and I a few minutes ago. it took her quite a while to do it because she has so many jobs, including being the chair of the RTD board. And as Chris mentioned, we all knew that RTD and this location and that garage were going to play a role in the development of this neighborhood. It was part of the original strategy when this whole thing was put together way over 10 years ago. But getting that done takes a lot of people working on it, a lot of patience, and we decided about 4 years before we started the project that we needed to have a garage connection that allowed us to park, a large part of our parking requirement in the RTD garage, and they had contemporaneously just decided, hey, we've got to reach out to the community, and the lady I'm talking about, by the way, is Angie Malpietti, who's sitting there patiently, but I'm going to talk about you for a minute, because Angie, in addition to being chair, has been involved out here as a district board member for RTD since 2010, appointed by Mayor Hickenlooper. And she's also involved in a variety of things, including being the director of the Stapleton Foundation, which now has a new name, which I'm not going to attempt to say, but it has to do with transportation and the connection between transportation, places, housing, the whole thing that we're all here, that we all do every day. So I didn't think there was anybody else that I could think of that better come and talk to us for a bit about RTD and about what she saw when Aaron started his program along with Deborah years ago. Angie was one of those players. I've never actually sat around with four of us and had that particular discussion, but I know you've been involved in so many things that are so important, and you don't get a heck of a lot of credit. So thank you, and I'd like to thank Angie Malpietti and call her out.
George, thank you for those kind words. I'm looking around this room and I'm going to date myself. I've known Deborah since we were in our 20s when we worked at Highland Neighborhood Service Center.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Aaron hired my daughter to be a policy person, and she has just done amazing work, so he's kind of my family. The Colorado Housing Finance Authority, David Herlinger, the great Herlinger, was my mentor, and sent me to Germany to study a concept called mutual housing. I didn't know what that was. I was 27 years old, and I'd never left the country before, and I was astounded, but it was all about one thing. You cannot feel good about yourself unless you're the king of your castle, and if your castle is in ruins, you don't feel like a king. And it's always stayed with me that housing is the very premise of our soul, right? It means so much. And as I look at amongst this group, you are our community, and I want to thank the residents for allowing us to be here. This is a very sacred place. It's very blessed. It's been done in the name of community. It's my honor to be the RTD Board of Director, and you're right, I'm a native Coloradoan, and I also grew up across the street. This is my neighborhood, and I sit here thinking about leaders that I stand on their shoulders. Joanne Phillips, who just recently passed away, Nettie Moore, who was just a power of her own. We're not in this alone. We are in this in the aggregate together for the good of all community members. And my role is very honorable in the sense that I have a responsibility to be the voice of those who are usually not at the table. I try to do it to the best of my ability, but I just want to say what a great place this is. RTD is absolutely thrilled to be part of this process, and you know what? This is your legacy, George, and I'm really proud to be part of it. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Angie. Wow, it's incredible to have people like Angie and all of you that are involved in a single hope of putting people in housing that they need to be in and deserve to be in. And we now have a vehicle and a mayor in Denver and a director of Post in Denver and Britta Fisher and people like all of you that are up to that task. So thank you all so much. As we go through this, I've got a few people that I need to thank, and I was standing out there looking at the banner, which I hope our Pete is capturing, but you can't do these things without a lot of money. And unfortunately, that's what it always comes down to when you're building something, whether it's for housing or anything else. But in our case, we had the great good fortune and Brinshaw's help in attracting capital from U.S. Bank for both our construction loan and our tax credit investment. Freddie Mac, the government entity that is not exactly in the government, but Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae both provide capital for affordable housing, and they were our permanent lender, and we're great to work with through their agent, Northmark Capital, who did a wonderful job. Chris mentioned DOLA, the State Division of Housing, and Chapa, obviously. Denver Housing Authority partners with us on every single project we do in Denver, and without that partnership to defray some expenses on property taxes, we couldn't do these projects. So that's an extremely important thing a lot of people don't know about. Of course, Urban Land Conservancy and our architect, Cassie Turbo, from the old firm J.G. Johnson to the new firm J&S Design. Cassie did a wonderful job. This is a great tribute to your firm that you were able to come up with this idea to have a building next to the gulch, which someday might be a little bit more active as far as having some water running in it. But the movement in the building was driven by that idea and that vision, and Jim Johnson, the founder of J&S, who since retired, worked long and hard on this project, so thank you. Alliance Construction and Dan Farah and Jose Garanda back there, and Aaron Sanko, just a wonderful job, Dan. I know I told you, and I know I embarrass you every time I say it, you're the best superintendent I've ever worked with. And by the looks of me and my color of my hair, you know I worked with a lot of them. And you're the man as far as I'm concerned. So with that, I'd like to say a few words of thanks to the mayor, because without him, actually, I'm going to bring up Aaron first. I'm sorry, I'm starting to act like Joe Biden. But it's working for him, so maybe it'll work for me. Anyway, Aaron Mirapole, I've already said enough about, but I can't say enough about what ULC and Deborah and Aaron meant to this project. I mean, every time we had something that was impossible, they went out and found a way to deal with the impossible. So I'll just say again, Aaron, thank you. You should be every bit as proud as I am and as the Brinshaw people. You made this happen. Deborah, same. So God bless you both. Aaron?
Wow, George. A lot of kind words there. Thank you. I didn't grow up in this neighborhood, but I feel like I've grown up here for the last 13 plus years. And I wanted to thank 4 women who have made an incredible contribution to making this happen. I want to start with someone who can't be here, Myrna Hill, who passed away 5 years ago. Myrna was on our board, was our board chair. Myrna worked with Deborah and myself when we talked about, and Deborah said, we're going to do a design charrette. If you know what a design charrette is, that's the first thing I run away from. Anytime someone says a French word, charrette, it's like planning something. And well, no, this design charrette was amazing. And Myrna and Deborah and so many other folks were so key to that. And that was a decade ago, to think about how this could be done differently. And Myrna was here. She would be so proud to be a part of this. She'd be so proud because these apartments are incredibly beautiful. I mean, you're going to be proud to be a part of this. And so thank you. 3 other women. Deborah Bustos, you've heard a lot about, but it was her vision. I was behind the scenes, George, but it was really Deborah that really pressed this forward and saw what this could be. And without her, obviously, we wouldn't be here either. So thank you, Deborah, for all you've done. Staff member at Chaffa, Beth Truby, who was with the city for over 20 years. Beth Truby worked with Deborah, worked with me, saw what we could do here, and in fact, but for Beth and the city, we wouldn't have Ames. We wouldn't have the next phase to move forward on. So thanks to Beth. I lied, there's 2 women. more, so it's 5 total. Angie, who you had up here, again, from the times you knew this community, you knew how important it was to be very intentional about this community and how we work together on it. And I think going back to, again, Myrna, always emphasizing how we ensure that what is built here is going to be something we're all proud of, that the community will be proud of. And so you've done that. And so thank you, Angie, for all your work being with RTD and the district and working with us, the press, to get that parking structure so we could use it to park. I mean, there's a whole story there that George cut out, but there's many years of working with RT to make that happen, so really excited. The 5th woman is now with ULC, so it's the future. So it's Erin Clark and working with you all in the next phase. And I think it's important to understand, like, how we carry this out is so critical, but it's also been so critical that women have been a key part of this work. And a lot of times in real estate development, it's the guys. It's me talking, but I really want to acknowledge the women in this work. But for them, we're not here. So thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you, Brenshore. Thank you, Chapa, City of Denver, all of you guys. It takes a partnership, obviously, but it takes these 5 powerful women to make it happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. That was just great. So, I'd like to thank a couple more people, including my daughter Lisa, who just walked in, who's also my Chief Financial Officer and has worked so hard on all of the projects, but on this one in particular, and runs our construction draw program and has spent a lot of time with contractors. But when something like this happens, she just says, "Boss," she calls me boss. "Get out of the way, I'm going to take care of this." And so thanks Lisa for everything. And finally, Comcap Management and Arthur McDermott personally, and Mike Langdon personally, and Mike's daughter Ashley, because you guys, along with Diana and Diana, we have 2 Dianas out here, which I think they did for me, thinking that I might be able to remember her. But these are 2 very different but very capable ladies that run our management operation from here and are doing a wonderful job. So thank you all. Again, this project, building it's just part of it. It takes a lot of work to get to the point to even start building it, and then you build it, and then you got to start operating, and a whole lot of other things happen. But it's now my pleasure to ask the mayor to come up. And again, I just want to say, I was thinking in thinking about, I know I've said a lot of things about you already, Mayor, but I've known every mayor, actually, since McNichols, but I didn't know him very well. But since Federico Pena, Wellington Webb, John Hickenlooper, even Bill Vidal, and Mayor Hancock, I've known all those folks. They've all been helpful, and none of them come close to the commitment that the mayor's made to affordable housing, by bringing people like Britta and Deborah now into the city. But it goes way beyond that, and it's just an attitude in Denver that these folks know what the heck they're doing, and they're great to work with. These projects wouldn't happen without your folks and your personal leadership, Mayor. So thank you again, and I'd love to have you come up and say a few words.
Thanks, George, and thank all of you for being here as well. So many people have been thanked, and so I'm just going to pile on. But let me just say this. I think it's a story that I don't want us to miss. Around 2012, we started to see the housing crunch in the city. It began to manifest itself, though, in the Great Recession, as we came out of the Great Recession in 2010. A lot of folks who had been homeowners prior to the Great Recession were now renting, and it was driving the prices skyrocketing into Denver, or in Denver. It was during that time that then Executive Director of Office of Economic Development, Paul Washington and I decided we've got to find a pathway forward and begin to invest, do what municipalities don't traditionally do, and that is invest in housing. But I got to tell you today, I hope you all understand the village that it has taken, not just the city of Denver, but the village that it has taken for us as a city to make the progress that we've made just to this point. We still have a lot of work to do. George and Aaron and Greta and Deborah, Chris, and everyone else will go from this project to the next project because we cannot afford to stop. There are people, and we all know them, there are neighbors, there are family members, there are children who are feeling the pressure of wanting to live in this great city but yet cannot afford to be in the place that they call home and want to call home. And so we are humbled today to stand here with all of you to be a part of this. And I'm glad that the people of Denver are also generous to say, yes, invest in housing, we will pull the lever, and we'll give you the resources to make sure that we secure affordable housing for people for years to come. Today I stand with Britta Fisher and Deborah Bustos. Thank you, Aaron, for allowing us to steal her from you. And a team of folks who are not here who represent the Department of Housing Stability, who work tirelessly to not only to create and develop, but to preserve our value of affordable housing. We simply in the city of Denver have the audacity to believe that if you want to call the city home, you ought to be able to find a place to go forward. And we believe that in addressing issues around wages and making sure that we never stop in our efforts to make sure there's inventory. So today, we celebrate this new development, George. I remember it seems like yesterday we were all here on that nasty weather day. I got on the backhoe and I got to move a little dirt. And we broke ground to build this unit. It seemed like yesterday. But thankfully you moved expeditiously even during COVID to build 133 units. I just want to share with you today that Britta and her team invested $2 million of gap funding in this project. And as a result of their continued diligence to be involved, some 1,598 units of affordable housing are currently under construction, are being preserved in this city at 22 different sites throughout the city of Denver. There are 953 units that are anticipated to break ground this year, George. And we know that this is still like giving a well a tic-tac in this great city. That's why it takes all of our partnerships. And I'm so proud to always stand with you, George, Aaron, Chris, and everybody else. Thank you, RTD, because we don't build housing, right? But we get to work together and say we're going to create housing. And so we're proud to be here with you. I want to congratulate everyone. And you know what? I'm just going to leave the podium with this as I look at Aaron. You know, Aaron will walk in the room. You almost don't even know he's in the room. He's that guy. He'll ride his bike around the city of Denver. Yes, we build bike lanes for Aaron Mirabel. You're like the silent giant of housing. Because the power of this moment is that not only do we have 133 units through the vision of George and his organization and all the partners who helped make it happen, but this is permanently affordable housing because of Aaron's work, 99 years of graduates through it. So congratulations and thank you. We're proud to stand with you. We'll continue to stand with you.
Thank you, Mayor. So when we wrap up here, which is in a minute, I'd like you all to go out these doors because we're going to go about 20 feet to your left there and cut the ribbon. And ask the mayor to lead us through that thing. I'd also like to introduce and thank Dan Ezra, who has been our owner rep on every project we've done in the last 20 years and was a great asset to this. He just showed up, so I thank you, Dan, for being here and as always for a great job. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all to both our streaming audience and for everybody who is here. Thank you so much. You've all been a part of this. You're a continuing part today, and we can't thank you enough. So with that, I'm going to say, let's go cut the ribbon for Sheridan Station.
Chris, what are you doing over there, man? Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris. Come over. I want y'all to know that Chris is the best dressed person. Do that. Look at those shoes. I know, look at the shoes. Whoa! Okay, everybody, here we go. 1, 2, 3.